As a creator, as a musician, as a composer, you have the power to touch people. You have the power to really, change people's lives with your tunes, with a bit of your love with your art. And you should consider yourself a really a chosen one. That God has given you that power to, and the art to change people's lives. You should go ahead and do it.
Hey everyone, I know it's been a minute. I hope you're all doing really well. This past summer, I had the great pleasure of interviewing two of Bollywood's most prolific composers who also happen to be dear friends and mentors of mine, the brothers none other than Salim and Sulaiman Merchant. I conducted this hour-long interview on behalf of the SCGC, the Screen Composers Guild of Canada, who do tons of work across the country advocating and educating on behalf of screen and media and film composers alike. Salim and Sulaiman have scored over 100 feature films between scores, soundtracks, and songs as well, and they've also been Emmy nominated as well. I thought it would be an incredible opportunity for both sides to bridge the gap with Salim and Sulaiman's expertise in the world of Indian cinema, Bollywood music, world music, and pop music as well. As a treat, I wanted to share my favorite tidbits and snippets of this hour-long interview, so I condensed it down to some of my favorite parts where Salim and Sulaiman give amazing wisdom, whether it be in film scoring, in orchestration, in working with film directors, and also on the global music market in going into 2020. So without further ado, please check out this wonderful interview with the brothers, none other than Salim and Sulaiman Merchant.
We grew with music around us. Our dad was,
right.
Of course, he had an orchestra.
Right.
That's where we got the inspiration to learn music from. And that's where it all started from. And then, of course, all the history behind what all we did. And before the films also, we did a lot of stuff. There's a lot of advertising, after which we jumped into producing songs for people. After which we actually jumped into producing background scores. So it's been a long journey.
So the scores came kind of later on, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit later. Producing music is like, we've literally been born into it. And at any given point, there'll be like 5 or 6 different projects running simultaneously, and you're juggling between all of them. You do 2 hours of one project, and then you jump into something else, and then in the night you opened up another project and you're working on something else. So it's music at the end of the day. You're just jumping between different compositions and different ideas. It doesn't have to be different from a background score. A background score can be be a piece of work, and add a commercial would be another part of what we're doing, and then you'd be working on a couple of different songs at the same time.
Right. So it's like music is music, right?
Yeah, it's really like, it doesn't matter whether you're making music for an advertising project or a film or a musical or theatrical production or a song or anything. It's ultimately, it's just a extension of your personality and your and a bit of your heart, and a lot of your heart, and a bit of your mind, and everything which you're putting in your art, which is beautiful. And it's been like Sulaiman and me have done so much together, like, from a bhajan to a devotional project, to so many things. And it's been fun because it's, like at every stage, I've learned something. I've never looked at it like work. Like, I always look at it like, wow, this project is going to be exciting because it's probably going to teach me. So I've always looked as knowledge,
right. It's almost like it keeps you growing constantly, right, to the next level.
Have you seen Cassettes? Was it around your time? Have you
cassettes?
seen cassette? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm 92, so I grew up right around cassettes. My parents had this stereo with the two cassettes, and I'd record one to the other, and A side, B side.
Yeah, exactly. So
Right.
when we are talking about that era, it was a completely different era altogether. When cassettes were not easy to find, they were expensive. Music
Right.
was expensive, and that made it very dear to people. It became a possession to own, something to own. If you went and got a Michael Jackson cassette, it was expensive, and you really wanted to cherish it and enjoy it. Now you get music, you get like a few million songs at $9 a month. So the value for music has dwindled.
It's supply
And
and
therefore
demand.
the quality of music has somewhere gone down as well. What
Right.
we are trying to do is still keep the quality of music and the originality and the beauty of long-driven songs that you would keep listening to forever and ever. Whenever you pick up a phone, or you're floating around in a subway and you want to listen to music, you should be able to go and listen to a song from Salim Sulaiman and say, hey, I still love this song. It doesn't matter how old it is. And so that's what the difference right now is. Besides all the other stuff that everybody knows, the usual things that are happening with music in terms of the accessibility, the ease of use, quick songs that come, last for a month, go away. It's all because it's so easy to find, so easy to get. Press a button and you get it.
Right.
What do you say, Salim?
I think, yeah, I have a similar idea. I mean, similar thought about this. Like, it's a supply demand question. I mean, people are, there's so much going on at the moment that, everybody wants to just listen to a great beat, a nice fat bass line, some really cool production. And there's less focus on melody. There's less focus on the soul part of the music, which I feel can be brought in with all the electronics and with all the production and with all the colors. I don't see that that we can't do a great thing of the now and something that is timeless. It's music should always we should always try to make music which has a timeless quality, because this is how you leave your stamp. You leave a piece of your heart, leave that moment for the world. And it's very, very important to capture that feeling, that emotion, that expression, what you're going through. A lot of times, you sort of you lose that moment, and you're just trying to make music which is kind of trendy, and it has but it's just like it's just going to like a fast food joint and like sort of having a like really crunchy burger, which will make you feel great for that minute, but it's not going to go down very well the next day. So it's like making good music is like gourmet, having gourmet food. It's very important to realize the importance of making good music, and as a creator, as a musician, as a composer, you have the power to touch people. You have the power to really change people's lives with your tunes, with a bit of your your love with your art. And you should consider yourself a chosen one, that God has given you that power to and the art to change people's lives. You should go ahead and do it.
That's beautiful. That is very, very beautiful.
In 2012, there was a new law that was passed in India, which said you can take away everything from a composer in terms of take away his intellectual property, you can take away his mechanical rights, whatever you want.
Right.
You can physically, in the sense on contract, you can take that away from him, but you cannot take the right to royalty away from the composer and the author. And so ever since then, there's been a shift, and it's been a long process to get everything streamlined. But we are now being able to see some of the royalties come in, and so it's happy days, hopefully.
So it is. So the system is working now over there in terms of the back-end royalties and performing rights. And
it has kind of started working well. The backend has started
recently.
There is some stuff. There's some stuff that's, you have to understand that there was for the last 5 years, 8 years maybe, there was no system. So it's like a rebuild of the entire system right from zero. It has taken from 2012 to 2019 to get it up to steam and to start actually functioning. And now is when we will hopefully see bigger revenues and bigger pies that have been split up and taken into consideration.
So basically the backlog could cause, you might see some of the downstream revenue come from years ago, right?
Yes, we're starting to see revenues now from 2012 and some from 2018 and 19. So it's like a mix of royalties coming in. Some are logged, some are not logged. There's a lot of errors in logging and a lot of different things that are going on simultaneously. Q sheets, yes. There's all sorts of different things that were not in practice, which have now been adopted. And so the new technology in 2012, 2011, 2010, there wasn't so much of a practice, which has now been actually established, and people are following it, and they're getting royalties. Yeah.
Well, I personally feel like that the most important thing today is to not stop learning. That's I feel personally like, a lot of composers who've scored 1 or 2 films or 3, or like, a few films, just feel like, this is it. Like now I've got to score bigger and better and bigger and better, and which is of course fantastic. But the one thing which I've learned so many years is like, I've learned to keep learning, and that's a beautiful thing, which makes your next film more exciting, which sort of makes you ready, and gives you so much more satisfaction when you've learned a new trick, when you've learned a new skill of orchestration, or it could be something like it could be just even like editing, or it could be something which you've studied while scoring a particular piece of, like like you're doing a film which is like a kind of a very has a rural background. Like right now we're working on a film which is shot in Rajasthan, which is a small it's a little state, it's a little village actually in Rajasthan, and but it's an American film. It's like so just to keep the right balance, how much ethnicity to throw in there, who's your audience, and how much and to know where where not to score. A lot of people know where to score, but few people know where to shut up and let the sound do its trick. So these things only happen with experience. You cannot. I mean, you can obviously go to a school. You can go to a film school. You can go to like a whatever beautiful music school, and they can teach you a lot of things about orchestration and scoring and technique and whatnot.
Right.
But ultimately, you got to, it's your experience that will really, really teach you about treating a different kind of cinema in a beautiful way. Like, because that only is your interpretation of your personality, your experience, and how your mind is going to understand actors, timing, dialogues, and, to know where to score and where not to score. These things only come with experience, really. So that's something which I want to tell all the emerging composers, all the ones who've sort of. It's always great to learn. Like I feel every day is like a new day to learn. I'm working with a second time filmmaker right now, and and but for me, like, she's the captain of the ship. Like, she's the director, and it's fine. Like I don't ever make her feel that I'm 100 films older than you.
Right.
I'm always feeling like it's my first film, and it's your you're the director. So it's that
Wow, that's
that
inspiring.
sort of respect and relationship should always be there, because that's how you learn. That's how you're able to grow as a composer. All our studio sessions revolve around our live gigs, and as in it's sort of interconnected.
Right.
But again, if you're like right now, we're working on a movie project, and it's perfect because it's monsoons in India right now, so it's off season, and so we're doing lesser sort of gigs. But if
Right.
you're working on a movie project, then we sort of, we do our shows and we come back to the studio, and it is hectic. It's difficult, but it's fun.
Is there is
But
there
there's no
like
routine. There's no like a routine. Like, okay, it really depends on what what our what's there. Like sometimes we have a very big film we're working on, and it's the busiest gig season, so we basically just
right?
sleep less. We sleep less for
Right, right.
like as Pete
Which I've seen you guys a lot.
as Peter Jackson has said once, that pain is temporary and film is forever.
Ah,
He's-
nice.
He said
Very
that to
nice.
James Newton Howard during
Right.
King Kong. During King Kong,
Wow.
and
There you
that,
go.
that line stayed with me.
Just fight
That
fight through it, right? Because the film is gonna last
Yeah.
longer than we are, right?
pain
So
is
how do you?
temporary, whatever. Yeah, beautiful line.
Absolutely, it is. And do you? The second part is, do you guys have some way of splitting work between one another? I mean, I kind of personally know the answer to this question. I'm just wondering,
Yes and no.
because I know
now
Suleiman's more on the drum
yes
side, and
no,
you're more on the.
no, it's not like that anymore. We bleed into each other's zones basically.
Gotcha.
A lot of there's a lot of interest.
There's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, but of course my strength is more melodic stuff, and Suleiman's strength is more the percussion, rhythmic, bassline stuff. Ideal situation is like, I do the changes and the orchestrations, and then Suleiman does all the rhythmic stuff.
The
I
rhythm,
keep
gotcha.
art very different from, like a lot of successful people are not talented, and a lot of talented people are not successful. All right. So it's success has got nothing to do with talent. And talent is two totally different things.
Right.
So it's it's really a kind of a crazy situation. I mean, the world is getting more after success and failures and all that stuff, but I'm still sort of touching upon talent, and I'm still trying to listen to some great talent and appreciate that. Like I said, it's for everybody to understand that you may not be successful today, but that means nothing. You may be extremely talented, and and know that you one day, whether or not you're successful or not, it's the fact that you have something beautiful in you, which is music, should be your biggest success. It should be that by itself should be a winning a goal for you. That's it.
Wow, that's beautiful. Suleiman, would you like to add anything?
It's true, really. It's true, really, because it's true because honestly, think about it. Like you can. I know that it's difficult. It's in a real world. It's difficult to live. Sometimes you're going through a bad time. If it's failure, But then if you have music in you, really, I think you can do whatever to keep your art alive, and that'll feed you. It'll feed you and it'll keep you. I mean, there's no limitation of how much success you can get, whatever. But it's about the question of happiness. Like what can keep you content, can give you that little happiness and content,
Satisfied, right?
Satisfied, and sort of go through your day. That's most important. A lot of successful people are not happy, by the way.
Right, absolutely.
A lot of top producers I know who are really, really doing super well and have an immense amount of hits are probably going through some kind of really bad time mentally, and so using all kinds of weird things to get over it. So
Right.
uh,
Is there something, is there a tool or faith or something, or family, anything that keeps you grounded through when you're, if you are going through a difficult time, even if it's not, musically related
all of that.
or
I mean,
business
family.
related?
We're very grounded people. And
Absolutely. That's why I take to you for sure.
contrary to a lot of people who think that we are very outgoing, fun-loving. I mean, we are all of that, but our roots are still very, very grounded and secure. And so when you look at a film and you say, "Oh my God, it didn't do really well," and
Right.
that's disaster. Thursday night you were super excited. On Friday, it's like, holy, what's going on here? The film's
Right.
dived, and you say, you know what? It's fine. Let's just move on to the next one and see if we can create something better.
Right. Right. So I guess faith and family, right?
Well, that faith and
Yeah,
family.
family.
Yeah.
Family
Right.
keeps you grounded. Your faith in your music lets you fly.
Wow. We got a lot of quotes here today, quotables today, right?
We both have different ways of spotting a certain opportunity, and then both of us look at it differently, and we converse and we argue, and we will come to a final conclusion to how we want to take that opportunity and in what direction we want to take it. And we both have two different brains and two different sensibilities and two different ideas, which finally converge together, even when we're making music or if we're looking at a business opportunity or any of that. We both have different ways of looking at it. The goal might be the same, but we have different routes in which we travel to get there. And so when we get both those routes, we know for sure and for certain that you're getting to the right path.
Does it really matter whether Hollywood and Bollywood are two different worlds? People in Hollywood are watching Bollywood stuff anyway.
Right.
Netflix.
Right.
I
Right.
mean,
It's all kind of
this doesn't matter anymore. There are no who the
Right.
hell goes to theaters anymore. People are watching
Right.
Netflix. People are watching
Right.
Amazon. People are watching
from their iPads or whatever.
OTT platforms. I mean, it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Today there is no very less cinema. Focus on cinema, and there's so many more mediums. There's obviously the web series and
Right.
it's such a big thing today. So it really doesn't matter. We are watching so much coming out of Europe and America, way more than what we did last 3-4 years ago. And similarly,
Right.
and so is America and Canada and UK and Europe and those places are watching so much of the Indian content, which is on Netflix and other things like that. So,
And we're not talking about just cricket.
we are not talking
Right.
about. So cinema is of course one aspect of it. Cinema is one
Right.
aspect of it. That yes, of course, the industries, but there's a lot of stuff being made today, and some big time composers are scoring those now. Those series.
Right.
And so. And I think that has all kinds of people are watching that. So there's not really
It's kind of a global audience now, right?
Yeah, absolutely, totally.
So that's
Well,
why I said the world is a very small place now, and the whole phenomena of the East and the West and the North and the
So-
South is all just disappeared, because the minute you sit with your iPad in the middle of the night and you want to watch something, there's a zillion things that you can watch.
Sometimes when a director has a good edit, a lot of times I see good editors put great temp music, and
Right.
I mean, I'm going to be very honest and straightforward because this is for a lot of composers who probably like watching this.
Right.
Sometimes you don't have a good cue as temp music.
Right.
Can take you really in a different direction, and it can really throw you out. And it's always nice to, it's of course great to have temp music so that the kind of the language of the film and what the filmmaker is trying to say and what the editor is trying to sort of achieve in terms of the story. But it's good to not get married to it, because most of the time there is a good cue, but sometimes the cue is completely off, and
Right.
it just takes you in a very different direction. So it's, as a composer, it's nice to have your own thoughts and your own personality come into the cue, and you can temp it yourself. Like, if you think like um, a particular piece, or particular, like, let's say for instance, I'm working on this. We're working on this film called Desert Dolphin, and
Right.
there's a very the main protagonist theme is a piano theme. Now, I don't have anything against piano. I love that instrument. I play that instrument, but like,
Right.
it's a very safe zone to be in, and it's a
Mhm.
very safe sort of, it can be, it always works because the piano has a beautiful cinematic sound and stuff like that. But if you want to try and alter it a little bit, maybe try mandolin, try a different sort of an intimate instrument, which is a string instrument, could be a world instrument, like it could be like balalaika, or it could be something like that, which has a character of its own, and a calling of its own, and a sound of its own. And it's a little bit different from the piano, and
Right.
having different like atmospheric textures mixed with, we had orchestral kind of sounds like cello and things like that, but we had tweaked them, sort of like filtered cellos and filtered tablas, and
Oh, that's cool.
some atmospheric scapes floating around with some world flutes, and then in between all of that, like, was real pure sitar sound. So the score was very diverse. Like, it had a lot of different tones and textures and whatever, and that really added the personality to it. That was one of our finest scores we've done.
Wow. And have you had an instance ever where a director has had you spot something without temp music at all, or are they usually giving you cuts with temp and then you're using that as a reference?
Nobody's bold in today's age. Everybody wants temp music. Everybody
Right.
wants.
So, but there's a lot of times we've received films with the director being completely open-minded and saying, "Hey, listen, I didn't find anything that I wanted. Why don't you guys score it?"
Oh, wow.
Like, we were doing a salesman film. Like, Rocket Singh Salesman of the Year was a salesman
Right.
film.
I
We've never
remember
done
that
a
one. Yeah.
salesman film, and
Right.
there's no sort of benchmark of, like, salesman film. Like, there has been a horror film, there's been a courtroom film, and this, whatever, a robbery film, a heist film, but there has never been a salesman film. So how do you tone a salesman film? So he used like very like 80s funk music, a lot of Parliament funk, and a lot of different like funk kind of music, which was kind of very
Right.
different. And it had a lot of like late 70s, 80s kind of vibe, a little bit of electronics, and it was very different. And I liked it a lot. It really helped the film. So he set up the tone for the film. Like, the temp music had all the 80s funk in it.
All three films that we've done with Shimit have been like that. Even Chak De India was just phenomenal score. When we look back, you say, man, that it just really is so uplifting when there's a goal that's scored, or when you feel Shah Rukh Khan standing in front of the Indian flag in
That
Right.
the middle
cue,
of.
I remember very well. I'm going to stop Sulaiman there. That particular cue which Sulaiman is talking about, which had Shah Rukh Khan right near the Indian flag, and his like teary eyed when India wins the World Cup.
Right.
That part, Shimit Amin had used Baba Mal's cue from the film Passion. I remember very well. It
Oh, wow.
had a high African voice. You know,
Right.
like that, kind of like
Right.
African
Right.
world voice, and I was, and at that point we sort of created a song there, which was that Maula Mere Lele Meri Jaan was a vocal. It was, so we sort of pushed a song that part at that point of the film, and it really worked. I mean, it was the words and the lyric and the song, but again, it was Shimit's idea too. He gave us the tonality of sort of having that that upliftment, that kind of freedom. Yeah, that call.
Right. Before you guys go, I'd love for you to leave us with any closing remarks or thoughts. One of mine before I let you end here is I'm always whenever I look at you both, I'm inspired by you both, and I'm inspired by who inspires you. Which I remember Salim saying that Madan Mohan, who is a legendary composer in Bollywood, was one of his favorites. And I was watching a Madan Mohan interview, and he said that, you know, he's saying in Hindi, but he was saying it's very important to, as a musician, to be very, he said jazbati, which I guess would translate to emotional or sentimental. And his compositions are some of my favorites. And sensitive, yes, that's correct. So that's the correct word. And I feel, you know, you guys are the, you know, the second incarnation or the modern version of that. And so I really personally pull so much inspiration from the both of you. So thank you so much for being you and contributing to the musical world as you have. So we really appreciate it.
Gagan, thank you so much for, you know, you're doing a great service by, by having people from our part of the world communicate with people your side of the world. And I think, and like as Sulaiman said, the world is a small place now. It's really wonderful that we have so much of knowledge and exchange between each other. And I think it's this is something which you've started. I hope and pray that it continues and it goes really very, very strong. And I hope you can connect with so many more people from all over the world, composers.
Oh, thank you so much.
And make this a beautiful, community, not just between Canada and India, but, from composers from all over the world.
Oh, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Great to see you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. And I'm going to let you both get back to work because I know that film's got to be done. Take care, guys. Thank you so much.
Soon, bro.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Salim and Sulaiman. There was some amazing wisdom in there that hopefully you were able to, pull from and take some insight from for your creative process and your work. The goal here really is to bring the synergies of the East and West together because there's so much great art, so much great music, and so much great film on both sides of the world. I think anyone who has come across Bollywood films or Bollywood music in the past couple of decades surely has been touched by their incredible themes, their incredible scores, soundtracks, and songs as well. A very special thanks from the bottom of my heart to Salim and Sulaiman Merchant for making this happen all the way from their recording studios in the heart of Bombay, India. And also a very special thank you to my wonderful team at the SCGC and all of the great board members who help make opportunities like this happen, where we get to speak to some of the greatest to do it across the globe.